We all recently saw the shit show that was the pre-patch launch, you know, a whole day basically of gameplay gone. Was it like a 12, 13 hour maintenance period? You know, some issues still. Hopefully they'll get fixed soon. But should the War Within be delayed? Beta testers are scared.
Always use another
Mikey
death
Moto,
knight.
thank you for the 7 months, man. Thank you
I
so
wish
much.
I was a bad Canadian DK tank.
Jesus Christ, man. Thank you for being a Death Knight of our Scourge and that shitty message you just sent with it. Anyways, after a rocky pre-patch, is the War Within in trouble? Let's find out what Bellular has to say.
Welcome back, everyone. Today it is time for a funky edition of the Warcraft news. No, I'm not going to start doing music or anything, but it's a strange time. We're going to talk about the state of the pre-patch. There has been a bit of discourse on that. We're going to talk about the state of the expansion itself. There's been some discourse on that, as well as a few other things, including actually some really good news for the World of Warcraft team. I'll kick it off the pre-patch then. So, look, pre-patch brings a lot of good stuff, but it's kind of busted right now. So some talent trees aren't actually moved over to their 11.0 versions. Blizzard actually say that is an intended thing. Basically, they're not done yet. Right? They're not done yet, so pre-patch is not in a War Within state for some classes and or specs. Then loads of dungeon and raid boss problems. It's been fun watching what's been going down. Basically, lots of bugs and specifically lots of disconnects. A lot of disconnects.
There was a hilarious one. If you guys saw it, I think we watched some video of it on stream where Tindril Saidswift doesn't land. He just stays floating above the platform and kills everybody because he can't break his shield. Or the one where Farak on Mythic just blazes the entire platform on fire randomly. That's great, man. There's been some funny broken moments in the game so far.
That are to do with movement, right? So
Fix my
that's
portals,
a problem
please.
Across all of the Dragonflight raids right now. And I mean, yeah, literally in Emirdrasil, there is some sort of bug with every single boss.
Yeah, there it is.
If you interact,
that's the Farak moment. Look how he just kills everybody.
The UI too much.
Farak patched himself an update. He's like, I'm sick of getting killed. I'm going to patch myself right now. I'm going to blast everyone.
Well, that could be a mistake because there are lots of Lua errors that can pop up as well. In fact, many are logging in to find that their action bars are gone and they've got to be manually re-enabled on all their characters.
That happened to me.
Some people have had similar happen with their keybinds and just weird things like Lady Ashvane floating. Yep, there she is, floating. I hope she's well. Sylvanas is also bugged, so if your way of celebrating the War Within was to go to the greatest raid ever, Sanctum of Domination, unfortunately, you may not be able to complete it. So yes, it has been a bit of a mess. I'd say it's probably best that you wait just a few more days. And while you're at it, check out today's sponsor.
Before he does, I guess I can let it play in the background. One thing I didn't understand and why there's bugs actually in Shadowlands and BFA now is Blizzard buffed those bosses. For what reason, I cannot make it out in my head. But they buffed their health and their damage output, and it broke them. I don't know why Blizzard's going back and buffing old bosses, man.
But they keep on
Makes no
shipping more.
sense.
As an example, they just posted Learn Git. Of course, Git is a vital developer skill, and they've announced 3 more courses. Git 2, Memory Management in C, which very much brings me back to my final year project, and Linux sysadmin, as well as a project to build your own Asteroids game.
Probably.
Now, don't worry if that all seems a bit
time walking?
intimidating.
Is time
You
walking
can work your way
available
up
this
to that. They take you from the fundamentals, say learning the basics of Python, right through to advanced topics, and it's all done by people with real experience in the field. And beyond just writing code, doing this, you'll better your abstract thinking skills, and based on my own experience, you'll build up some confidence.
There it is.
They're
Code,
the real
bitches.
deal. So you can check them out today at boot.dev/Bellular. Code Bellular gets you 25% off your first purchase, and that's backed by a no questions asked 30-day money-back guarantee, and you can browse their content and free demos of all of their courses. They're terrific. Thanks to them for sponsoring, and let's go. On to the more impactful thing then. So, this tweet went out from Narissa of Wowhead. Quote, I know it's wishful thinking at this point, but given the state pre-patch was released in and the way beta testing is going, for everyone's sanity in the dev team, I really hope a launch delay is being considered.
I would say there is a 0.00 to the -1 chance that any delay is being considered. There is no way. 0 chance. They sold the Epic Edition. All these Epic Editions. They sold the regular pre-orders and all this stuff. And just the media backfire and the shit show that was the pre-patch and everything that's been happening, I just don't think they want the media, coverage of a delay happening. Like, oh, we're not ready. We got to delay it. And all they've talked about is how this is supposed to come earlier than normal. And it is. based on the dates they gave us so far. There is no way. Zero chance that they're going to delay it. And should they delay it? I'm not saying they shouldn't. I'm just saying they're not going to. Under Microsoft Daddy, no chance.
Now, the reason why I call out that tweet in specific is because, well, it really did pop off, made it over onto the Reddit, and of course, because she's doing loads of work in the beta, well, yeah, she knows. As for our experience on the beta, well, look, it certainly does mesh with some of our experiences lately. You'll probably see whenever the ranged DPS, kind of like roundup video comes out, that the footage looks a bit different to what the melee one did, and that's because when we were doing the melee testing, things were a lot more fine. Delves, though, have been an absolute disaster. In fact, there are some beta realms that are currently down, and yeah, they're having problems on the max level realms. So it really is a little bit of a mess. And I suppose talking about the class series, one thing you'll notice when you're going through those videos is there are many great changes, like some specs. I mean, goddamn, if you're a mage, you are going to be real happy with War Within.
Yeah, mage
looks
though, great.
Not everybody is seeing that level of positive change. And it's just so obvious that for some specs, for some classes even, they've ran out of time. Like, certainly thinking about Druid, I mean, it's kind of rough if you're a tank, kind of rough if you're a cat, and kind of rough if you're balanced. Not exactly sure about Resto, but it's just a little challenging. Now, it's one of those things where it's not like it is completely doomed. It's not like everything's broken. It's very much they're still developing it. And I guess that is the problem. They're still developing it. Yeah. It's going to be out fairly soon. And
I mean, if you guys remember way back when they started developing the War Within and they launched Hero, like they talked about hero talents and everything, I said that I'm worried this is going to be a balancing act up until the last day of pre-patch. Like for me, hero talents were the risk of the expansion.
Use another death knight.
Kyrocast, thank you so much, man, for the 4 months. I appreciate that. As I was saying before, the worry for me is it's basically hero talents are a big balancing act, right? It's adding stuff to player power progression, player power. In each class and how it's balanced. It's just more balancing to do. And that's why I was worried about it from the beginning. Delves, they'll fix it no matter what. Hero talents are going to be a constant thing throughout the expansion.
There is, in cases, right, subjective feedback based on testing that they haven't really been able to act on. As an example...
Wait a minute, 0.0 to the negative 1 is infinity? I guess it's getting delayed.
A lot of testers are basically saying
I'm a speaker of truths.
Are
I don't know what I'm saying
almost like
sometimes.
too mechanic heavy, that there are issues there. It just doesn't really seem like they're going to have enough time to properly go through all of those things. Even just thinking about pre-patch with disconnects, that is something that people had already reported on beta. It just very much seems they have not had the time for these things.
Right.
As for the topic of delays, I'm almost always in favor of delays with games, honestly. I think even 2 weeks can make a real big difference, especially when there is beta testing and pre-patch, giving them lots and lots and lots of data. And I guess for me, the big thing here is first impressions are really, really hard to fix, right? And given the last 6 years, WoW really needs to make a good first impression. And for me, it's just a little sad that things look kind of touch and go.
Can I ask something real quick, though? Why is it that in the trailer here, right, the particle effects still exist for Ashes of Alar?
WoW
Look at that.
really needs to make a good first impression. And for
You
me,
see the ribbons coming off? That doesn't that's not how the game looks. That's not true. Look at the ribbons coming off the back. That shit disappears when you dynamically fly, and I was so disappointed with that. Why does it show it in the trailer? It's a bunch of bullshit, false advertising.
it's just a little sad that things look kind of touch and go.
It looks glorious.
Because actually looking at the expansion, there is so much stuff that I think really is pretty fantastic. Like, there is straight up loads of just the best work they've done over the last 8 years. At least that's what it looks like. Problem is, if that doesn't ship in a good enough state, then yeah, it doesn't really matter how cool Hallowfall is or how rich that lore is or any of that, because the problems will just kind of override it. Then another topic is a bit of mythic plus drama.
I'm not saying they shouldn't delay it. I think if it is broken, delaying it is better than launching it for sure. Even if they're not going to be on time anymore, there should be a delay. I just don't think they're like even considering that. I think they're just saying like, even if they're going to launch it with some features not fully enabled yet, kind of like they've done with Warband Banks. Well, they made a mistake though. They launched it and broke it, then they took out Warband Banks. But I'm saying for the expansion, they're going to launch it, and even if some features need to be pulled, they will. Now here's the thing: this time they're getting 3 days early. They're essentially getting 3 days of beta access to all of the people who ordered the Epic Edition, right? You can win one on the stream, by the way. If you haven't already, come in here, watch 1 hour of stream. You can win an Epic Edition giveaway. But they're going to have 3 days with less people playing the expansion to kind of work out some bugs before the official launch. So maybe they'll get things fixed in that time period.
Hey, when isn't there Mythic
Paid beta testers, that's what the Epic Edition people are going to be.
Plus drama? This time it's a bit different though. So we know how this expansion is going to be coming out
Paid
in
beta
terms
test.
of the various different dates. So it comes out early access the 22nd, full access on the 26th. Then on the 10th of September, the first season
Look at
starts.
it, kids.
And then a week after that, Mythic Raid, LFR Wing 2, and Mythic Plus Dungeons come out. Yes, so Mythic Plus Dungeons is actually coming out around the same time as Mythic Raid, which is kind of odd. I mean, those are pretty different. And I don't really think that Mythic Zero being harder is going to be much of a substitute for the people who just enjoy Mythic Plus, like the type of content that a lot of people just have as the main thing they do in WoW.
Yeah.
That's just kind of locked off for a
It's
bit.
going to be delayed for a little while. People are not going to feel probably like the season has begun until Mythic Plus actually kicks off. But it's interesting. It might prolong the Race to World First, because no Mythic Plus before the Race to World First kicks off means the guilds that are participating in Race to World First are going to be slightly less geared when the raid opens.
Bit. And that really does feel strange to me. It does mean that whenever the season starts, it's essentially going to be do the raids, spam delves, and dungeons will just kind of not really be touched. Yeah, the new M0 is way better, but I believe it's currently planned to be dropping veteran gear, which is fairly low. And even beyond that, there's a whole discussion going on basically about the top end of gear that you can get from Mythic Plus, and once more a situation where with there being 2 more...
Blizzard updated this, by the way. Max crafted gear is now going to be 5 of 6. It's going to be 636. Blizzard updated this. This just wasn't... People were complaining about this. It just wasn't updated. So actually, if you see here, Myth Track 5 of 6, 636 item level, that is how high how high max crafted gear is going to go. So all crafters rejoice. Stop bitching. You're fine.
On the Myth
fine.
Track
Don't worry
for
about
gear, it basically just seems there could be quite a gap for the M Plus players. Now again, there is time for this stuff to be iterated on, to be fixed up.
Yeah, it already has
I
been.
honestly do think the Blizzard are almost counting on it being a 2-week gap between when the expansion comes out and when the season starts, because it seems they really do have quite a lot of work cut out for them. Okay, a few more factoids from beta, and then we get to hop into the big story about, well, the state of the World of Warcraft development team. They've actually had a pretty major win. But for the beta, right, there is a new login screen that has been data mined, and suffice to say, it does make the sort of odd design that is there in pre-patch. It does make that make sense. I don't think I love the new direction, to be honest with you, but I do think this data mined one is a hell of a lot better, and I suppose
It's
the
better.
idea that it could change maybe from patch to patch or something would be kind of cool. That's not something the Blizzard have confirmed, but it does seem that the login screen has been set up in
The thing is, this is like a painted, version of the dwarf city. I'm forgetting what it's Kazalgar, I believe. Whatever it is. It's a painted version. I kind of would have liked an animated version, like with maybe dwarfs walking across the bridge. Who knows, a griffin flying over the sky. Just more shit moving. I think that's what this login screen is lacking.
a way that they can maybe
Really aren't moving parts to
modify it a little bit easier from patch to patch. Then there's story mode raid. This is something that is flat out just completely new for this expansion.
Yeah.
It's only going to be on the final boss. Now, previously there was quite a lot of kickback from players because it was planned to be opened up fairly late. Blizzard have now said that it's going to be open on the 17th of September. So that's the same reset that Mythic Raid comes out. And what that basically means is that if you don't do normal heroic or mythic raids, then now you will be able to progress through the full campaign, whereas previously you would have had to wait all the way until the final LFR wing. Then a funny little thing that I noticed from Wowhead's testing: Shadowlands bosses have got 2.62 times more health and damage right now, and BFA bosses have got 1.68 times more health and damage, which honestly for a few of the BFA
I just
bosses
don't get why they made this change. It makes no sense to me. Why are you making previous content harder? People like to farm that shit for transmog.
a little tricky if you're doing it in Mythic, but they did see that Legion bosses and those from other expansions haven't been touched, which is good. I mean, certainly it's good that Legion's coming out unscathed. It has pretty much got some of the best gear, so absolutely go to Legion raids, enjoy the new transmog rules. With that said, let's talk about the state of the World of Warcraft development team. This is a fairly big thing, so unionization. WoW GG,
Oh, yeah.
the World of Warcraft Game Makers Guild now exists. It's basically them forming a union under the Communication Workers of America. It includes, and this is the bit that matters, QA, art, sound, design, engineering, production. It's essentially what they call a wall-to-wall union, which means it is the entire game team. Now, the
Okay.
context here is that Microsoft said that they
Prepare for Blizzard to send some of these jobs overseas now. That's good, yeah.
would voluntarily recognize unions during the merger. So the mergers went through. They want to unionize. Microsoft are doing what they said they would do. Now, this unionization push actually did kick off before the big wave of layoffs. And from their statement, they're mostly interested in layoff protection, improved work from home policies, transparency around pay and promotions, and pay adjustment to align with the expensive areas they live in. And it's a really expensive area like that. California is expensive. That part of California is even more expensive. It's kind of crazy. And again, to kick in some broader context, just a few days ago, Bethesda Game Studios formed a wall-to-wall union that covers 241 people, and the ZeniMax QA union is also really big. Of course, that's all stuff that exists under Microsoft. Now, I think
this was inevitable. The gaming industry is still in its infancy when it comes to like industries as a whole. You look at the automotive industry, you look at the aviation industry, like different industries that have existed for a long time. They all have unions, and so this was inevitable. The gaming, basically, the gaming sphere. The gaming world is still fairly young, and it's reaching that age of maturity where it's making so much money. It's such a big part of the world now, such a big industry, that of course unionization was going to happen.
Something that basically is good.
I live in Detroit. Yes, we make cars here at Taiwan.
Like a wall-to-wall union for this game in particular, that actually matters a hell of a lot. I mean, the point basically is the staff are stronger together, and in a world where their parent company has however many tens and tens and tens and tens of thousands of employees than Microsoft has, you can't really rely on just having a good relationship with your boss. No, it doesn't really work like that. If you're in a massive corporation like that, where often layoffs will fall on you in a very line item way, as in it's just, hey, we need a 15% reduction, so away you go, cut your teams. That's a systemic problem. And that means that to have a little bit more wiggle room, a little bit more power in that situation, you need a systemic solution. That's why this is pretty strong. Ultimately, when that union forms, like the furthest place they could take things is a strike action. Now, that is something that will rustle up the jibbies of people. Like, World of Warcraft is one of the biggest games in the industry. You're talking about billions of dollars, like, over time, right? Like, it really does matter. And that means that, yeah, this team actually does have some real goddamn power. And I think that's a good thing, because this is a team that has faced fairly high rates of attrition in the past. It's a team that has sometimes been dicked around, that has been in a company that hasn't always dealt with things in a productive manner. Indeed, the World of Warcraft development team specifically has struggled with, as an example, the work from home rule stuff that they were changing, and essentially not making accommodations for people that they hired, where work from home was like part of the deal. I mean, just the idea of, they were able to change the deal. That didn't work out for people, and then guess what happens? Oh, the World of Warcraft development team loses talent. And in the public post talking about the formation of the union, like, one of the things they're talking about is retaining talent and keeping the actual health of the team in a decent state. And certainly with the pay adjustments, like, I do get that. Blizzard historically had been an underpayer, right? Blizzard had been an underpayer. Costs are going up. That is an extremely expensive part of the world. And frankly, Blizzard were just not competitive with many other companies in the region. They just kind of, I suppose they went on with their name, with their IPs, kind of got people in that way. And
I think Blizzard was able to hire a lot of people without offering the most pay because people love their IPs, right? People love to be able to say they worked on World of Warcraft. It's an amazing resume builder. To say you worked on Blizzard games or worked for Blizzard, it's a huge name in the industry. So some people who are willing to take a little bit less money to I guess get a big name on their resume. That's one way Blizzard has kind of gotten by not paying people as much as other companies may have been paying.
Look, if we want the game to be as good as it can be, one of the things that's absolutely required is a more healthy team. Better retention, the sorts of things that actually mean WoW is building and building and building, rather than just having a revolving door of people, because that is literally what kills franchises and drives them into the ground. And as for what's going on under the ground in the War Within, well, it's a little bit of a touch and go time. Yeah, I do expect this to be a fairly buggy launch. You could certainly say that a good point of loads of the bugs happening right now in the pre-patch is, hey, the pre-patch does bring the largest systemic changes to the game.
Yeah.
And, well, it's probably good.
This was all by design. The reason why they did pre-patch the way they did, and the reason why they actually did pre-patch itself in 2 phases, is because they knew the first phase was the systems update, and the systems update is the one that was going to break the game, if anything was going to. The one that's launching today is just the kickoff event, the what's it called, memories, residual memory shit, like Echoes of Azeroth, whatever you want to call it. That's all it is. It's just those events. It's not a big deal. It's not going to break the game. The thing that was going to break the game was pre-patch, the first phase, and they got that in. It's still a bit broken, but they're patching it together, and eventually by the time the expansion launches, they're going to have it all together. But that was the real reason why they did the launch the way they did. So when the expansion itself launches, I feel like all the systems themselves are basically in the game already. So it shouldn't be too broken. We went through the hardest part already. That first phase of pre-patch was always going to be the worst.
Happen now instead of whenever the new content launches. But if you hop on beta, you will see that there are plenty of bugs.
And they did it that way intentionally.
It is just worrying. Like, hell, it's funny, within the community, most people were expecting a September launch for the expansion, not an August one. But I guess pre-patch is out now. I mean, it would be...
Your boy is expecting
It would be
August,
pretty
just
odd
saying.
to do a delay. Like, it would be quite challenging. So, I don't know, man. Anyway, let me know what you think. That's the updates. That's the things you need to know for this week. Little bit of a tumultuous one. Let's hope things do trend better and that we see some positive beta updates. Of course, we'll be bringing you all the news as it happens, and to look forward to all of the class testing content, because there is a lot of it on the way.
Yes. In terms of will there be a delay, the answer is no. They're not going to delay it. Like I said, the broken stuff and the breakage of the game was all by design, in terms of they didn't obviously break the game intentionally, but they knew that if anything was going to break the game, it was going to be the systems that came in the first phase of pre-patch, and that's why they dropped them as early as they did, and that's why they dropped them in the first phase of pre-patch. Now, they have basically a month to get things fixed. They will do that, and I think we're going to get a launch on the right dates. August 22nd, and what was it, 26th or whatever is the official launch day, so we'll be fine. I think they're sticking with that.